Hi, and welcome to Nevaeh's Nightmare. And on today's episode, we are going to be interviewing with Kiki Dombrowski. So, she is also the author of A Curious Future and 8 Extraordinary Days, and we are going to be asking some questions, discussing some things, and just having a nice little chat. Okay, so I have a question for you that's been in my head for a few days now because it's something that I also would like to know because hopefully it's not just me that feels this way. So, how do you feel about people in younger generations using TikTok as a form of research and just knowledge?
Um, you know what? If it's a gateway, then I'm all for it. But I think that, taking it a step further and finding books, finding classes, finding meetup groups, finding teachers, and finding friends to develop and deepen your knowledge and wisdom is always a plus, and I love
Right.
TikTok. Like my TikTok feed is all cats though. I never get any witch talk in my feed.
I was literally just talking about how my entire For You page is literally just cats. It's
Same,
bad.
same.
So, how do you feel about the use of crystals as solely an aesthetic?
You know, that's a really good question because there are people, there are people that are a little bit hesitant about even using crystals at all, and that's because it's the ethics behind
Right.
getting mining and getting the crystals um, can be unknown. It could be it could not
Yeah.
be really that good. It could be people not getting paid well. It could be harming the environment. So if crystals are part of your aesthetic, and you kind of want to do it in a sustainable way, see if you can find a crystal shop that does sustainable sourcing. So people that will say like from mine to shop.
Yeah.
So we're able to identify, okay, well this came from here.
Hmm.
Um, my best friend actually just opened a crystal shop, and she travels everywhere, and she's like going to an obsidian mine in Mexico to pick out stuff for the shop. And
Oh
to
my
me,
gosh.
I kind of like that feeling. It doesn't really feel as awkward as maybe buying something at like Urban Outfitters. Like
Yeah.
my friend's going to come home and say, oh, I met the person that got this, and there's a story that goes along with the crystal. I
Right.
think too that if you're using crystals um, just as an aesthetic, I don't know. I think that even people that are just like, well, it's pretty. There's like
Yeah.
some sort of energy or feeling that comes off of every little crystal that just,
Yeah.
you know, even I don't think that they're ever just aesthetic in the end. Like we love to. I'm actually surrounded by crystals right now. I'm looking and it's
I
like,
have an ungodly amount of crystals. It's really bad.
what? Do you have a favorite one?
Oh, my mom just gifted me a my mother just gifted me a honey calcite, and it's fairly large, and the way that the spikes are like pointed, and it's just by far the prettiest piece that I have. So, it's probably my favorite right now.
And I love how calcite feels too. It's like that sort of soft
Yes.
feeling. Yeah,
It's so great. Okay,
cool.
so has there ever been a time in your life where you realized you were more spiritual than your peers?
Oh, wow. I like your questions. Your questions are so cool. I've never been asked that before. Um, uh, probably. Um,
Is
hmm? Oh,
there ever a time in your life where you've been like, oh, I do this, I notice this, and you don't, and that could be considered something witchy or more spiritually or just energy or anything like that?
you jump started my memory. Yes. So, in ninth grade, we had to do like the big ninth grade English class project. It was called the I project, like I
Hmm.
know. And the eye project was supposed to be about whatever you wanted to explore and learn and understand better. Something that you love, that you're just like, I really love this. I want to know more about it. So my eye project in ninth grade was about witchcraft. So, so meanwhile, everybody's, doing an eye project on, whatever, Pink Floyd or
Yeah.
learning about baseball, which is great because I love Pink Floyd and baseball. But I mean, I was like, well, I'm going to read Lori Cabot, The Power of the Witch, and see if I could find witches in the community to, have a little mini interview with. So that was probably, and I would say that too, like, I always say that I was like a very peculiar, unusual kid.
Yeah.
I definitely have a lot of Luna Lovegood energy. And so like I always knew that I was a little bit unique, maybe from, more mainstream lifestyles or belief
Yeah.
systems. But yeah, adolescence, like eighth, ninth grade, yeah. I found, alternative music, Tori Amos, Nine Inch Nails, and witchcraft, and I was just on my way.
Yeah. Did that ever like cause problems for you in school? Like some people didn't want to be friends with you or they made fun of you or anything like that?
Yeah, I was definitely picked on. But it's kind of interesting too, because like I went to my, I'm going to age myself. I went to my 20th high school reunion, and I was just like super happy to see everybody except for this one girl who was, in high school, and she still is today. But like I really felt like
Yeah.
everybody was super cool. Um, you know, people are very vicious and mean because they're scared of things that they don't understand.
Right.
And you know, I'm in such a space of gratitude for the people that may have been a little bit more bullyish, that now are just like super chill and super fun. And if I see them in my hometown, I'm really happy about that. Or, but yeah, I definitely got picked on. And then I also grew up in part of my house. I had two homes, because my parents are divorced. One of my homes is really, really, really religious. And so I dealt with a lot of pushback on what I felt was what I was spiritually aligned to. It just didn't resonate in the church pews, which it
Yeah.
still doesn't. So
I fully understand that.
yeah.
I had a question and then it just
Oh no, it'll come back.
it'll come back. So how do you feel about people that, another crystal question, about people that like use crystals solely, like instead of like practicing with like herbs and like other things, it's just like it's just crystals, like crystals are my life type thing?
I think that if that's what works for a magical practitioner or somebody who's spiritual, if that's the thing that allows them to engage with their spirituality or to connect with divinity or to deepen their wisdom of, kind of feeling the universe, then so be it. Let it be crystals. Um, I and people go through phases too, right? Like you might find that there's a phase where you're just like, I'm just doing just crystals.
Right.
I have known people where they started with a lot of more, using herbs, oils, sort of like our green witchcraft kind of stuff. And now, it's like, well, I light a candle and I focus on my intentions, and there's
Yeah.
like no need for those sort of like physical things.
Yeah.
So it's up to the practitioner. If it works for them and they feel devoted to it, and they, kind of go through that gate of that 3-minute TikTok video and find the book on crystals that, makes them feel really good, that's great. There's so many different ways you could use crystals, from like using crystal bowls, like the singing bowls, all
Yeah.
the way to like crystal grids, to wearing crystal jewelry, to making amulets with them, to just having them around. Like there are so many people that's like, what crystals do you have in your pocket today? Like I always
Yeah.
think that's a little fun question.
So do you think that it like gives the same type of energy to a crystal that's fake? Like if you have one that you believe is real and then it's actually fake, do you think it's the same type of energy or like?
That's a good question. Well, there are some laboratory created stones that are really, really incredible. And there are some people of the opinion that can't stand them. So my friend that owns the
Right.
crystal shop, like I love I don't know if I have it. There's this like aquamarine quartz. I can't remember the full name of it, but it's like this shiny turquoise quartz, but it's man-made.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's amazing. I connect it with the star card and tarot. I think it works. Like I think it's really great. There's another one called Siberian blue quartz, and it's
Hmm.
made in a laboratory, and I think it feels real good. Um,
Yeah.
and again, it varies from person to person. Somebody, work with what feels right to you. Um, I think that the most important thing is to ensure that wherever you're going, you're getting authentic and honest information about what you're purchasing. So, like,
Right.
there are those examples, like, a really easy example I could think of is like people that think they're getting turquoise, which is expensive and it's not very easy to get access to. I think it's a little bit more rare at this point.
Yeah.
Um, they'll think they're buying turquoise, but they're just buying a piece of dyed agate, or howlite. It's howlite,
I'm
white
pretty sure it's
howlite.
highlight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a piece of turquoise that I got from my grandmother's mother. And the only reason I know it's real is because it's that old. Other than that, I do not own a single piece of turquoise.
That sounds beautiful, though. It must be a beautiful piece with a lot of feelings because it's been
Yeah.
around for so long.
It was in like a little, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a ring box, but it was a ring, but it had these little beads and you swapped out the beads, but each bead was a different type of gem. So
Ooh,
you could just push it in, push them out. It was
oh, I
cool.
like that.
But how do you feel about like sigils and people writing sigils to just manifest their ideas and things?
I think they're wonderful. I love sigil magic. And that's because I also like to do junk journaling and I like to draw and do collages. And so I find that sigil work can be very, very, very powerful. I also think you have to be very, very mindful about the words that you determine are part of that magic work. Um, I wish that I was more of an advanced sigil practitioner. I know that there are books about sigil crafting and, different magical symbols that maybe you could use, or different ways to develop them, create them, draw them. Um, but I probably do it very simply. Like when I think of like, okay, I'm going to do sigil magic, I think of like, what is the intention of the work that I'm trying to manifest? What am I trying to bring into my life? And I'll try and come up with a phrase that corresponds to that. So I'll be very vulnerable. I'll share the one that's on, like, I actually, I'm reaching this one right now. So the mantra I've been saying to myself a lot lately is I am loved, I love me, I am safe and healthy. And so maybe I take those words and I want to make a sigil into them. I take all the letters and you cross out any duplicated letters and you just have one letter of each. And from that, draw a symbol with the remaining letters.
That's what I do.
Yeah, so I think that, but like I share that mantra with you because I feel like it's very
Yeah.
comforting, very safe. There's not room I almost like think like when you're doing magic, like I almost think of like the genie thing where it's like, be careful what you wish for. So
Yeah.
I find that wording, at least for me, is really, really important and valuable.
Okay. So this is the question that I kept forgetting. So is there any instances where you're working with someone and you're just they've pushed you to a spot where you're like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't want to do what you asked? There been any instances like that?
Oh, absolutely. Um, Especially with reading, with tarot readings, and especially this year for me too. So again, going vulnerable because it's two Geminis just chit chatting, and we go there, right?
Right.
And so this year I've taken off from doing readings simply because it's been a transitory year, and I decided to focus on healing my mental health and feeling good about myself and just
Yeah.
regaining the energy I need. And I share that because tarot can be, and reading for people can feel draining. It could be very exhausting. It could be challenging. And in many cases, it's this incredible, fulfilling experience. And when you're with somebody who is open to hearing the information that you have, it could actually bring a lot of energy into your world. It could be very inspiring. You could be downloading wisdom that you share that you can actually take home and use for yourself as well. And there are also those people that want to know they're winning lottery tickets, want to know when they're going to get married, want to know when, all these big giant things are going to happen, but they haven't taken the first step to bring, change into their lives. And so there have been situations as well with being in certain readings where I thought, you should probably be speaking to a licensed therapist to walk you through this, with CBT, like with cognitive behavioral therapy. This isn't, something that the Queen of Swords is going to, any tarot is or any sort of divination is such a valuable aspect of self-exploration, giving you the opportunity to deepen a sense of self, kind of scope out what's going on in the world beyond what you can see. And I think the two are linked together. I know that, it was interesting because one time I did another interview and said that you should always go to therapy before you get tarot. And she said, but do you think you'd go to therapy if you didn't do tarot? I thought, oh, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting observation or way to look at it. Like maybe, the two blend well together, at least for me. So anyways, I guess that's a really long answer to absolutely. Yeah, there are times where I feel pushed, and this year I knew specifically, and I think that that's a really powerful thing too, especially for other readers, aspiring readers that maybe feel burnt out, maybe people that just like create those healthy boundaries. I wanted a break. And so I took it and I feel great. I'm actually probably going to do like little 1-card readings on Twitter this weekend, just for fun,
Well, I am very happy that you are improving yourself and you are comfortable with where you are at, and I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
So, do you believe that there is a therapy to magic, if that's what you would call it?
Like a therapy? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Sorry. Because I understand that it's a sense of healing, but do you think that some people would just like use it as an escape?
I mean, I guess anything could be an escape, right? Like our devices can be an escape. Eating too many potato chips during a stressful work meeting can be an escape. That's me. Magic can be an escape as well, but that's such a good question. Magic in many ways is an opportunity to better yourself, to better your world, to lift up yourself, and to put yourself in a position where you're feeling re-empowered and you're feeling complete and inspired. And so that could be therapeutic in a way. Of course, it's not going to, I don't think that anybody can wave a wand and just be, over their generational trauma, like,
I wish it was that easy, honestly.
Right. If it was, we'd all just be like walking around, floating, 10 inches above the ground because we'd all feel so good and happy, So I think that just like anything, like magic is part of, to me, I look at magic as part of the self-care routine. And magic does come in different forms. We talked about it, sigils, crystals, people do herbs, light a candle on your altar, say a prayer, meditate, whatever, like put a picture of Artemis in front of you and sing, like whatever it is that feels magical. If it's helping you feel good, then you're going in the right direction.
So this is something that I have always struggled with, and in a sense, it's made me kind of retract myself from my spirituality. But there are some people that believe that you cannot practice without an altar. is there any feelings or thoughts behind that?
Yeah, I don't know if I respectfully disagree with that.
Yeah.
Um, and for some people, if like you like, and that's not to say like shame on anybody that says that, but if an altar is a part of your spiritual practice and an altar is a way for you to remember your spiritual practice, then by all means have it. Some people just don't have the space, the room. They may have like 5 cats in the house that are just going to start knocking, athames and crystals everywhere. Um, you know, everybody, people might be limited. I think that there's a lot of benefits to having altars. Some people will have permanent altars where, they're constantly dressing it and, honoring ancestors, spirits, divinity through it. And then I also love like seasonal altars. So like, I'm going to build one for Beltane or what just passed, Luagnassad. And then we also have the fall equinox coming up. So, or maybe you want to have like an altar just for the full moon because you're doing a magical spell or an incantation with a group of, friends. I don't know. But you are no less spiritual or magical or capable of finding spirituality if you choose not to have an altar or you cannot have an altar.
Okay, so one more question, and this one kind of rounds and entwines TikTok back into it.
I love
So,
TikTok, so that's awesome.
how do you feel about people who have never practiced before, don't know much about witchcraft, don't really know much about spirituality, you making and using TikTok as a form to make spells like love potions or curses or things like that?
That's an interesting question. And that's something that people like, that's like in October at Strange Realities, we'll have like an hour conversation just about that, right? We all have to find mediums through which we can share our research and express what we're learning. The concern is that love spells and curses maybe are not necessarily the first line of defense. So in other words, I don't know, like sometimes I think about people like, I'm like, I want to just curse that person, and then I'm like, they'll just curse themselves. That's fine.
Right.
Like I know ultimately like things level out without having to get to that level. But then there are certain people who are just really horrible. And it's like, maybe I need to put up a protection spell. I think
Right.
that love spells are a little bit concerning too. I'm on the fence about always just going, well, this person isn't giving me the attention that I need, or they're not valuing the opportunities between the two of us. So I'm going to cast a spell. I would almost say like, just try and date somebody else, like
Yeah.
as painful and as difficult as that can be. And there's a lot of grief in that too. I don't say that lightly, but it's just something to consider that you are worth more than having to like cast a spell to get somebody to give you the attention that you deserve.
Right. Okay, so how do you like what's your mindset behind people who don't really know what items or herbs or crystals or intentions, like they don't really know what they're not necessarily not what they're doing, but how do you feel about that? Like if someone was to put like cayenne pepper or like just a bunch of like really bad things for a good intention, like how would that play out or you would like expect it to?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? I mean, and that's worth an experiment, not with something intense, but
Mhm.
you know, is it all in the mind? So in other words, if I think cayenne pepper is, calming and soothing, and I put all of my intentions in that the more I work with cayenne, it's going to give me this soothing sensation when really cayenne is this, hot, spicy thing. Some people say it's good for banishment, protection, or even, passion and lust. Um, you know, so what happens if you believe it's actually a calming and soothing herb, and you put all your intention? Is it a fake it till you make it situation where, like if you just, and that maybe problematically glides into a law of attraction world, where if you're just like, yeah, this is going to be very calming for me, this is going to be very calming for me, is that what you're going to receive from the universe? Or is it like, no, it's just not going to work?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe again, you could tell I'm a very, very flexible, open-minded person, where my answer that I kind of always bounce back to is like, I wonder if it just depends on the practitioner, and what are the intentions, how true are they? How heartfelt are they? I don't know. I think too, when you have the best of intentions and you come from a good place, you're going to see better results than you will. But again, and this is with anything too, like the more we practice something, the more we master it. I mean, like, I'm not going to play Chopin the first time I sit down at the piano, but if I did, I mean, like, I should go get a couple concerts at Carnegie Hall. But I have to continue to practice. I'm going to hit the wrong notes, and I'm going to have to accept that I'm going to hit the wrong notes every now and then. But then eventually, if I keep practicing and keep celebrating it, I'm going to play it correctly. So then it goes back to that question. Well, if I keep hitting C, but I'm going, this is going to be the D note, but I'm hitting the C. Yeah. I don't know. I have to think about that.
Okay. So
yeah.
So this next question is something that I had trouble with, and then I just kind of gave up. So if you wanted to join a coven, or you needed people to share your experiences and your ideas with, and you just don't have anyone around you that has any of these interests, and you don't really know anyone that does, what would you do?
It's tough, isn't it? And it depends too on where you are in the world, because you may find that there are certain locations where people are a little bit more open. I'm in Georgia right now, so when people ask me what I write about, most of the time I just say, self-care books and
It's just
kind of
easier
stuff. But when I'm home in Connecticut, I'm like, oh, I write about tarot and witchcraft. So what do we do when we don't find people that we can relate to close by, or to connect with close by? First is not to give up and think, you're not alone. You're not the only person that's exploring this stuff. And that's the benefit of social media, isn't it? Where, maybe on one end we could say, there might be some misinformation out there. There are people that are practicing things that, might be level 10 and they're level 2, but it's also an opportunity to meet like-minded individuals. So through spaces on social media, even I've had the opportunity to meet people that, I wouldn't meet on an island in Georgia. So I think that it's really important to remember not to give up, or to think that you're alone, or that you're isolated, or that there's nobody that's going to relate to you or connect with what you're talking about. And as you're able to grow and explore and get out in the world, you're going to meet other people. So yeah, the benefit of social media is that you can meet people quickly and connect that way. But let's say we take social media out of the picture. So let's pretend you don't have TikTok and you're trying to find other people. My recommendation is to always look for shops, look for stores. So in Nashville in particular, because I used to live in Nashville, when I think of Nashville, I'm like, well, if you are trying to find like-minded individuals, you have to go to Aroma G's.
I was just about to say Aroma G's.
Right? And Donaldson, because they probably have classes. Mm-hmm. They probably have meetup groups. I think that they do divination nights. They have events. I think they actually have a folk magic festival coming up. So they are hosting all of these events where there's no way you can go without meeting people that you can relate to. Another example in Tennessee too is the Pagan Unity Festival, Puff, which is run by Tish Owen, who I love. And they have all sorts of amazing pagan writers that come through, and they're teaching classes and doing all sorts of wonderful. It's like a weekend event, and I think they do it at Henry Horton State Park.
I'm gonna be honest, that was my first time hearing of that.
Oh yeah. Oh, you would love it, Pagan Unity. And so again, it's where are the events, where are the classes, and where are the locations where like-minded people could possibly meet. I guess that would be my next step if you're not on social media.
Okay. So this is kind of just in like a broad question, but how do you feel about ancestral work?
I think it's important. I am no expert on it. But I think it's important in that I think they're very present. I think that our ancestors are very present. And I'm sharing another personal anecdote. I just am learning how to paint. Like it's not like I'm like a
Me too.
I'm no Picasso, but someday, right? Someday. I keep saying that by the time I retire, I'll have it as a side gig. But I have my grandmother's sister was an incredible painter, and she painted me a picture. And so I don't have it up right now, but I'm gonna hang it up where I'm doing my artwork so I could look up, and if I need that extra assistance, I could call her and say, come have a talk with me, or come speak to me through art, or help me pick out the right colors. I think our ancestors are with us. They want to see us succeed. They want to see us evolve. They want to see us happy and at peace. So if there are ancestors that you feel drawn to, if there's something even in your genetic lineage, like, wow, like I'm 50% Italian, like, maybe you need to go to Italy and visit Italy and, see how you connect with the Oracle of Delphi. Is that Italy?
I don't know. So has there ever been any instances when you're giving a tarot reading or you're just talking to someone and there's how do I word this? They ask almost if you can like speak to past loved ones or anything like that?
Sure. Like, you mean like mediumship, or do you mean like?
Yeah. Like, has there ever been an instance where someone's just been like, yo, can you do this?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, people will be like, guess what number I'm thinking? What color is my house? What's my middle name? Tell me what my dad's name is. People will say all sorts of stuff. There's, definitely I'm an element. And this is for people that don't really understand what I think divination is about. Divination is a tool for self-development and spiritual development. It's not a guessing game. It's not a game of like, okay, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. What number is it? And if you don't say 5, then you have no talent.
Right.
Divination is meant to create inspiration, conjure hope, make you feel excited about stepping out the door and facing the world. So yeah, I've definitely had people ask for strange things. What's really weird too is like, I don't really read palms, but for some reason, and this is not just with palmistry, I find it a lot with palmistry, but also with tarot, like, when am I going to die? People will ask that.
Yeah. It's even if you did know, I don't think you should tell them. So.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's something, well, I always say like, well, I just don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's none of my business. That's what I'll say. Like, it's none of my business.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know. Or if I wanted to be a smartass, I could say, 13, 14 minutes. I wouldn't do that. But, and that's okay. People will say stuff like that all the time, or people will say, well, can you see my, everybody, all different readers have different talents, and there are plenty of readers who do have those mediumship abilities where they could be doing a tarot reading and then all of a sudden they sense or interact with the spirit of, or maybe an ancestor of the person that's sitting for a reading, or somebody that passed over recently. Has that ever happened in readings that I did? Yeah, I guess. Like I always say that I definitely have a mediumship side. It's not something I really focus on. I really have a clairaudient ability. So sometimes I'll hear songs. Sometimes I'll say like a little bird just came down and told me, because it's like I almost like hear like something come through that I have to share with the customer or the client. Um, and every reader will have a different approach to that. They'll be irked by different things that people ask for, but I think that the when am I going to die, or guess my middle name, or what color is my car, that's kind of, I think just in general, I don't think it really,
No, it's
unless
like
you're
a
the
guessing
Long Island
game.
medium. Right?
Yeah, that's like a guessing game at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
So, has there ever been people that have come to you and you just haven't been able to help them? Like they ask certain things and you just don't have an answer?
Probably. Both in good ways and bad ways. Sometimes people will come in and they'll, sit down and say, I want to know when I'm going to get in my next relationship. And their reading has nothing to do with relationships. It
Yeah.
has everything to do with going back to school, or moving out of your parents' house, or, reorganizing your home, and so in that way, the cards are saying, the focus right now is not getting in a relationship, but doing something else based on whatever cards are being drawn. So that's definitely a bummer, when somebody's like, well,
Yeah.
I want to know when I'm going to get, get a boyfriend, get a girlfriend, whatever it is. And you're just like, well, you should go clean your room. I'm just giving silly examples, but
Yeah.
I mean, it could really let people down. But if they're open to hearing the advice and realizing that the more that they build and develop themselves or make changes in their lives, it may invite opportunities in. One thing I always say too with tarot readings is, this is not something that we're looking 10, 15 years out, So this is not your destiny for the next decade. This is just a potential path. It's a forecast. These are opportunities and suggestions that will benefit you and hopefully take you in that direction to the goals and the things that you really want. Yeah.
So, is there anything that you would want to tell anyone who is just now starting to realize, hey, this is something I want to do, this is something I'm interested in, this is something I feel connected to, where do I start?
I would say welcome. It is such a good vibe opportunity. It's such a, I don't know, anytime people start to work with magic and witchcraft and divination, I think that we're either star seeds or old souls or both. There's such a deep, dreamy, poetic, creative component to being in this lifestyle. Whether you have an altar and you worship every day and are doing magical spells twice a week, or if you just, pay reverence to the gods when, the leaves change colors. It's an opportunity to really have this soulful exchange with the world around you and hopefully with other people. So that would be my first encouraging words of like, welcome to this awesome, weird, mysterious place where really cool synchronicities may happen, where you're just like, oh my God, like this world is so full of mystery and magic still, and it's awesome. It really will fill you with hope if you allow it. And I would say too, to start thinking about what are the things that you're really drawn to. So we talked about crystals earlier. Maybe it's crystals, maybe it's divination, or maybe it's making sigils, or maybe it's magical activism. Try and just start simple. Like go to Barnes and Noble, or go go to a local metaphysical shop and start asking for recommendations. You'll find, or reach out to authors. Like, that's another thing I would say too. Like, if there is somebody's book you absolutely love and totally inspired you, like, just send an email to that author. They'll most likely write back, or connect with them online. So always look for the teachers.
So this one I just kind of thought of like randomly, but I am very curious about it because I've never gotten an answer or found anything about it. So do you believe that people can have familiars?
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, have you ever had a pet where you're just like, this is my guardian angel, or this animal is me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if that is a familiar, you know?
I'm not sure because I've had people tell me that they have familiars and then their pet just isn't, it's never with them. It's not even near them. And then I've had people that are like, have such a connection to their animal that it's like, this is a little bit more serious than just a owner and its pet, you know?
Right.
And yeah, I'm just curious if you had any insight on that.
I think that if I had to define a familiar, it would be an animal that comes into your life and protects you and loves on you and helps you move to the next step, but that you can also give, that equal exchange where you also are able to honor and love on that animal as well. Some people say they do magic with their animals present, and I can see that. Like, I've drawn circles before with my dog has passed, but when she was on this side of the veil, she would definitely come sit and hang out, and be present and be a part of it. And there are people that feel they have a really, really, really deep connection to their animals. You know, Dreaming about them, or and then there's also the talk about, or the idea that we resonate with certain types of animals, and the animals based on their folklore or the legends or their the way that they survive in this world represents an aspect of our personality or magic or something that we need to improve upon. So but I think that a familiar would definitely be a really close bonded relationship between somebody that practices magic and an animal that feels more than just like, yeah, I'm going to fill their feeding dish twice a day.
Yeah.
Really close bond.
Yeah. I had a cat when I was little and she didn't live very long due to some unfortunate circumstances with her eyesight, but she was solid white and her name was Angel and she was my best friend.
Yeah.
And whenever I see a white cat with blue eyes, I'm just like,
You think of your little sweetie. And
yeah.
isn't that funny too? Not fun. Like, isn't it fascinating that her name was Angel?
Yeah.
Right. She had some sort of guardian energy to her, just in a name that she was gifted.
So, where can people find your books, your website, contact you if they have any questions?
Oh, thank you. Well, I am very, very quiet right now online, but you are always, always welcome to connect with me. I would say first on Twitter. I'm, of all places, like, very active on Twitter. Kiki D333 is my name on Twitter, so you can find me there. My website, I probably have to update it, but it's got little contact info on there, links to all my other social media. And then there's also like links to all my other interviews on there too. So kikidombrowski.com. And A Curious Future is available at all book retailers. Like, I don't like, yeah. I think that, like, if you like it's an indie press. So if you go to Barnes and Noble, you can say, can you order this for me? That, but like, you could get it on Amazon. And you'll be the first to know this because I haven't said this in any other interview yet. My next book on tarot is coming out, and it will be out next late spring, like early summer. So look like May 23, June 23. So that will be a lot of fun. And then 8 Extraordinary Days is not in print, but I keep saying, I'm like, I'm just going to make a second edition and publish it. And so maybe that will be a project I get to. I'm going very slowly.
Oh, you're doing great though, so it's okay.
Well, and I'm so happy you're doing this project too. And I feel really honored that you thought of me and that I could, be a part of this and chit chat with you and get to know you a little bit. And I really look forward to it. I think I'll meet you in October, right?
Yeah, we're going to meet in October. It was very, very exciting and extremely anxious. And I was extremely anxious to talk to you, but I feel definitely way better now.
Good.
So it was lovely talking to you. I can't wait to talk to you again. And I hope you have a great rest of your night. Drink some more tea, some coffee, and yeah, and you you have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for talking to me and taking the time out of your day.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait to talk to you again soon too.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.